Good morning, people. And today is the last one of our Friday talks before we go for our August break. Today we are doing poems that you may have written or you rather like. And you'd like them, did you express them more towards this select bunch, who I'm sure at times this will be taken up by people on the internet who want to observe us later. So you never know. David tells me that some of them have been widely used, but less later. Now, poems. Patsy.
Right, okay. Well, it was my idea, but it isn't going to be all my poetry, I assure you. I did love poetry from an early age, although I didn't know that it was poetry. I think I was about 9 when I discovered The Keeping of the Bridge. Those immortal words, "Hew down the bridge, Sir Consul." Does everyone know that one? If anyone, oh right. Well, it's Macaulay, writing in the mid-19th century, and he is writing. It's a very long poem, "The Keeping of the Bridge," and it tells about a past quarrel between the Romans and the city-states around them. They have fallen foul of everybody, for one reason and another, and all of the forces grouped together against Rome, and they are pressing upon the gates of Rome to come and invade Rome and rape all the women and kill all the babies and so on. And the Romans are afraid they're not going to be able to defend themselves enough. The consul decides that the best thing to do will be to cut down the bridge which connects Rome to the mainland. Let me see if I did have it ready on my computer to read a bit of it. It's a long poem, so I was only going to read a bit, but here it is. Wait a minute, just a second. You know what I'm like with this, so give me a second. It flashed up then. What did I touch? I'm a bit like a lesson in how not to do it, aren't I, really? Any suggestions where this was something I had open and the various bits of fiddling around took place while I tried to get us started? I just wondered if anybody can guess what I might need to click to get it back. Here we are, I got it. Now I can't see you anymore, so I'm hoping that you can still hear me.
We can hear and
see. Brilliant, that's all that matters. Okay. So the consul's brow was sad, and the consul's speech was low, and darkly looked he at the wall, and darkly at the foe. Their van will be upon us before the bridge goes down, and if they once might win the bridge, what hope to save the town? Then out spoke brave Horatius, the captain of the gate. To every man upon this earth death cometh, soon or late, and how command I better than facing fearful odds for the ashes of his fathers and the temples of his gods? Hew down the bridge, Sir Consul, with all the speed ye may. I, with 2 more to help me, will hold the foe in play. In yon straight path 1,000 may well be stopped by 3. Now, who will stand on either hand and keep the bridge with me? Then outspake Spurius Latius, a Ramnian proud was he. Lo, I will stand at thy right hand and keep the bridge with thee. And outspake strong Herminius, of Titian blood was he. I will abide by thy left side and keep the bridge with thee. Horatius, quoth the consul, as thou sayest, so let it be. And straight against that great array went forth the dauntless three. There's a lot more to it, and a lot of it is, of course, I'm trying to get you all back now. A lot of it is, in fact, very warlike and not terribly suited. But I'm bringing that in here because it inspired me. It spoke to me of bravery and courage, and I hadn't thought through any of the issues involved in fighting and not fighting at that stage. They're very immature. I'm going to read you one more short poem before I hand over to the next person, whoever you're going to be. This is something I wrote for the school magazine. I think I was 17. I'm afraid I called it Domine Noster da in hoc proelio successum, or is my IQ high enough? Like Caesar have I struggled, like Brutus may I fall. I've studied tomes on Eliot, but is there hope at all? My writing is a scribble, my head will surely burst. And what hope have Headlandians if Rodin gets in first? For hours I've studied Shakespeare, Donne, Keats, and all the rest. For months I've burnt the midnight oil to try to pass this test. Black coffee is my staple food, with aspirins for good measure. If I met the examiner, I'd murder him with pleasure. So I await the dreaded day. I'm far too scared to shiver. For me, it's death or victory, a scholarship or the river. Contributed by a late candidate for Lady Margaret Hall, Oxford. I wasn't, but I didn't get in either. Okay, so
But the poem is a very fitting memorial of your attempt. It's lovely.
yeah.
It lives on. It lives on.
I'm afraid Headlands is no longer in existence. They've literally pulled it down and built a block of flats. But you know, I think it was the first time I began to realise that I didn't have a fair chance. You know, that the dice were loaded, and that no matter how much work I'd done, because of although I didn't realise it then, but because of my background, I didn't have the breadth of knowledge that other candidates would have had. And well, frankly, I wasn't quite good enough by their standards. Who would like to go next?
They were wrong. They obviously were wrong because you got your doctorate and you did exceedingly well, my dear. I say,
many years later.
Yeah.
So,
anyway.
Are you going to take a gifts of poem next, Ray?
I will try. I've decided to decry what I've wrote such doggerel. So this one I came across from Roger McGuff, and there's one I hadn't read before, and so I have enjoyed it. And Roger McGuff meets two young ladies on a train, and this is kind of the conversation into a poem which he wrote. I'm Shirley, she's Mary. We're from Swansea. If there was a horse there, it'd be a one-horse town. But there isn't even that. We're going to Blackpool, just for the week. A bit late, I know, but then there's the illumination, isn't there? No, never been before. Paris last year. Didn't like it. Too expensive and nothing there, really. Dirty old train, innit? Not even a running buffet. Pack a crisp would do. Change of crew. Probably have to wait hours for the connection. And these cases are bloody heavy. And those porters only one tipping. Reminds you of Paris, that does. Tip, 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 all the time. Think you were made of money over there. Toy factory. And Mary works in a shop Grocers. Oh, it's not bad. Not bad. Mind you, the money's terrible. Where are you from now? Oh, I. Do you know the Beatles then? Liar. What do you do for a living? You don't say. Do you hear that, Mary? Well, I hope you don't go home and write a bloody poem about us. That's absolutely lovely. That's the kind of a kind of a normal person what wrote type of thing. Another tiny one this time, but also I found very funny. Uncle Malcolm put the shop for Scotland. When he retired, he collected shops as a hobby. At the time of his death, he had nearly 200. And in accordance with his last wishes, they were buried with him. At St. Giles Cemetery in Perth, Uncle Mal is now at rest, somewhere near the centre of the earth. I just found those kind of humorous in their extension and enjoyable. Anyway, that is two from me. So I will, as the phrase goes, pass the baton a little bit, and hopefully someone else will come along with something.
Who'd like to go next?
Well, I don't see Rosalind or Hattie. Gordon, have you got something? I've got something I could share.
Well, yes, I have something. I hope you can hear my voice isn't as clear as it ought to be. But it's a poem I'm very fond of. I think Rosalind has heard it at the meeting once. It stays with me because I first met it in an article dealing with a poem, and I really learned for the first time how much is beneath the surface of a poem that you read, of any good poem anyway. And I'd forgotten for a while who had written the article. And then it came to me, it was a Professor Lawrence Lerner, who was an academic at Brighton. And I think it's appropriate here because he was a clerk of Lewis Meeting, which is near Brighton, where he lived at the end of his life. He was, I don't know whether he'd been all his life a Quaker, but he was one. Anyway, I'll see if I can remember it. It's called The Annunciation by Edwin Muir. And as you can see, it's based on a picture that he presumably had seen. The angel and the girl are met. Earth was the only meeting place, for the embodied never yet travelled beyond the shore of space. The eternal spirits in freedom go. See, they have come together. See, while the destroying minutes flow, each reflects the other's face, till heaven in hers and earth in his shine steady there. He's come to her from far beyond the furthest star, feathered by time. Immediacy of strangest strangeness is the bliss that from their limbs all movement takes. Yet the increasing rapture brings so great a wonder that it makes each feather tremble on his wings. Outside the window, footsteps fall into the ordinary day, and with the sun along the wall, pursue their unreturning way. Sounds perpetual roundabout, rolls its numbered octaves out, and hoarsely grinds its battered tune. Yet through the endless afternoon, these neither speak nor movement make, but stare into their deepening trance as if their gaze will never break. And I say, it's something I keep going to even now. Recently I've seen something I hadn't seen before. There's so much in this.
There's lots of points in that poem. It will be nice. It's nice to go back to. I can imagine and reread just a few lines at different points. Really, really beautiful.
I mean, the first, I'll say just this, first thing that I only recently realized is that the angel and the girl are not mentioned by name.
Mm.
And it makes you look at the work poem in a different way. And another thing about it was that when I was looking further into it, I realized that the painting of the Annunciation began rather late. It was one, I think it was several hundred years after Christianity took its shape. And it was something as though only late in the time did people appreciate that this was a significant part of what is meant by the unity of the spiritual world and us in our mortal life. And the other thing that is interesting is that in the poem, certainly that I know of, in the picture that I know of the Annunciation, the two are not looking at each other. One usually has its head down, his head down. And I think the research does find that Muir might well have seen the sole example of them looking at each other in a side street in Rome. It's there's so much in that poem that you could talk about.
Thank you very much, Gordon. That's very, very, really interesting. I've written down the title so I can go back and have a look at it later. I haven't. I'm ashamed to say I haven't read it before myself.
There is so much work out there that I still discover things. Have been discovering things for quite a long time as well. But there you go. David, what are you going to give us?
Okay, I could joke around this. You say I struggled long and hard, but I had the inspiration. I thought I'm going to see if an artificial intelligence can write a poem. So I signed into Chat GPT and I said, can you write me a poem for a Quaker discussion group that's a kind of pastiche of poems that they will at least partly recognize? Thanks in advance, right? I was reasonably confident that it would come up with something. So this is obviously an oddity, but it was freshly composed for you over my morning cappuccino by Chat GPT. Are you sitting comfortably? Right. Amidst the meeting's gentle sway, where silence speaks in soulful way, we gather here with spirits bright, in Quaker grace our hearts alight. Inspired by poets from days of yore, whose verses echo the truths we adore, let us embark on this poetic flight to honor wisdom's guiding light. In Dickinson's enigmatic verse, hope blooms unseen like springtime's hearse, a slant of truth in each refrain. Through stillness we find peace again. Like Whitman, let us sing the song of the uncarved block where we belong. O Captain, lead us steady and true, in quiet contemplation all anew. As frost's divergent path we tread, in choices made let love be spread. Two roads may diverge, yet we agree. In unity, love sets us free. And in the mystic words of Rumi's call, beyond the mind where hearts enthrall, in silence love's secrets reveal, a shared connection, divine and real. Thus, gathered here in unity, in worship and in harmony, a pastiche of poetic grace we find in Quaker spirit, heart and mind. So let us hold this sacred space with kindness, love, and boundless grace. In Quaker fellowship we stand, a tapestry woven, hand in hand. How about that? Poetry,
Wow.
poetry from an artificial intelligence.
It's amazing.
That is very good, David. That is
That's
very
amazing.
Very, very clever. Yeah,
good.
yeah. Oh, it makes you give us hope.
Perhaps you should offer it to the Friend magazine.
Oh yeah, I could do that. I could do that, couldn't I?
Yeah.
I just find it interesting that I mean, I didn't just say write a poem. I thought I've got to give it, you know, a focus or something. So it's a Quaker meeting, and you know, do stuff that will remind people of poetry, and bang, it just pops. I mean, that was instantaneous. It didn't sit and think.
Terrifying, really. Yeah. I find that really, yeah, it's terrifying. It's so good.
I've got some conventional offerings, but let's have somebody else. I'll come back if it gets quiet at some point.
Right. Okay. Good people. Who's going to be next to delve into the poetic? Rosalind.
Hello, friends. I came across a little book in our local meeting library called Along My Way by Nora Marianne Bellis. Nora Marianne Bellis. And at the back it said, Nora is a member of the Religious Society of Friends, bracket Quakers, and of Subud, an international spiritual association for people of all religion and none. And she had written this poem for a friend of hers who was going with her mother to Athens, I believe, for a very long holiday, and she was going to miss her friend. I must say, I read the poem first before I read this kind of introduction, and I thought it was written for somebody who perhaps had died. So you'll see what I mean when it's read, but I thought it could serve both purposes. A farewell for someone who has died, or a farewell for someone who's you're going to miss for a long time. She is gone, to find life again where the gulls cry. And there's blue sea and green sea, and a white wake and white shores. She is gone, and her voice is gone, and her laughter is gone, and her sorrow is gone. And we miss all these, for we know she will be away long whiles. And we who love her, we who are left behind, are glad in our missing, glad she will be one with the sea, free. There you go, friends. So you see what I mean by it could be used in different ways.
Yeah.
Oh, that's very good. Very good.
Very nice.
Yeah.
So that's me, folks, for now.
Right.
It really made me feel like I when I'm near the sea, I spend a huge amount of time just standing, gazing out there, you know, and it really brought that back to me, the poem, you know, this massive sense of distance, and the way, whether it's a pale light or a deep blue and a brilliant sun, either way, you just get this sense of infinity, which is what I love about going to the sea. Anyway, I'll shut up. Thank you.
Right. Anybody else gonna come in? Friends.
I've got something, but it's not written by a friend.
That's okay. No, neither of mine were, so.
No, no, mine, no.
Yeah. You know, watching Channel 4 News and what Putin's doing somehow brought to mind this poem. It's written by Meryl Glass. Her dates were 1892 to 1963, an American. Her husband served in the US Army in Vietnam. And when he left, they had a 4-year-old. I find it very moving, so I'll try and read it without being moved. It's very long, but I've just picked 4 stanzas. Remember the time you lent me your car and I dented it? I thought you'd kill me, but you didn't. Remember the time I forgot to tell you the dance was formal and you came in jeans and I thought you'd hate me, but you didn't. Remember the times I'd flirt with other boys just to make you jealous, and you were. I thought you'd drop me, but you didn't. There were plenty of things you did to put up with me, to keep me happy, to love me. And there are so many things I wanted to tell you when you returned from Vietnam, but you didn't.
Oh,
yeah. Every time it brings a lump to my throat. Her husband served in Vietnam, and not much is known about Meryl Glass. I don't think she wrote anything else, but you can survive that she's writing about her husband. It's so powerful.
That is a very, very powerful thing. And it makes me very wary to offer something else to you. But because I am a great lover of poetry, I like W.H. Auden. I think he was an amazing poet, you know, and one of the first ones that people usually come across is something called "Tell Me the Truth About Love." Has anybody heard it? No? Yes?
probably.
Probably. Anyway, this I will offer you, and you'll be amused and otherwise about it. Some say that love is a little boy. Some say it's a bird. Some say it makes the world go round. And some say that's absurd. And when I asked the man next door, who looked as if he knew, his wife got very cross indeed and said, that wouldn't do. Does it look like a pair of pajamas or a ham in a temperance hotel? Does its odour remind one of llamas? Or has it a comforting smell? Is it prickly to touch as the hedges, or soft as an eiderdown fluff? Is it sharp? Is it quite smooth at the edges? Oh, tell me the truth about love. Our history books refer to it in cryptic little notes. It's quite a common topic on the transatlantic boats. I found the subject mentioned in accounts of suicides. I've seen it scribbled on the backs of railway guides. Does it howl like a hungry Alsatian or boom like a military band? Could one give it a first-rate imitation? Or on a saw? Or a Steinway grand? Is it singing at parties a riot? Does it only like the classical stuff? Will it stop when one wants to be quiet? Oh, tell me the truth about love. I looked inside the summer house. It wasn't even there. I tried the Thames at Maidenhead, and in Brighton's bracing air. I don't know what the blackbird sings or what the tulip says, but it wasn't in the chicken run or underneath my bed. Can it pull extraordinary faces? Is it usually sick on a swing? Does it spend all its time at the races or fiddle with bits of string? Has it views on its own about money? Does it think that patriotism is enough? Are its stories vulgar or funny? Oh, tell me the truth about love. When it comes, will it come without warning? Just as I'm picking my nose? Will it knock on my door in the morning? Or treading the bus on my toes? Will it come like a change in the weather? Will it be greeted, courteous or rough? Will it alter my life forever? Oh, tell me the truth about love. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Isn't that lovely?
Yeah, charming.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think that's me for a little while because I'm told I can dominate. So I'm going to go away for a while and let others bring forth. So,
Patty, did you brought anything?
Well, I wanted to read something by a member of the Stepping Out Theatre. She's just absolutely full of poetry. I'm afraid I haven't chosen the best. I'm just thinking, trying to just find what she's written. I mean, she writes all, it just pours out of her. It's amazing. She's got dyslexia and she types straight into WhatsApp. You are my son, my heir. I miss you in the days you're not there. Your embrace, your tender kiss, holding me tight. Without you during the day I miss. You pull me close when you hold me near. When we're apart, I wish you were here. It just tossed off and, you know, just fun.
oh, like a bit of pop.
I've got a bit of a poem that I like very much. I just found I can still read it on my phone. It's just the beginning of a lengthy poem by John Keats, but I just love the way it's extremely, oh gosh, it's disappeared now. It's extremely evocative, and I always think of it whenever it's really cold. This is what comes to my mind. I have, of course, immediately lost it. As you all know, finding things on my laptop isn't what I'm good at. Just a second. No, that's a bit of trouble. Here we are, I think. I mean, I can remember there being the first couple of lines, but I wanted a little bit more than that. Yeah, here we are. I expect you all know this, but it's the Eve of St. Agnes, and he's retelling an old story of a young couple that steal away together. But this is a description of the weather at the time. St. Agnes Eve, bitter chill it was. The owl, for all his feathers, was a cold. The hare limped, trembling, through the frozen grass, and silent was the flock in woolly fold. Numb were the beadsman's fingers while he told his rosary, and while his frosted breath, like pious incense from a censer old, seemed taking flight for heaven without a death, past the sweet Virgin's picture, while his prayer he saith. And That's it, really. I know most of that stanza by heart because whenever it's cold, that's what I think of, and I it's absolutely amazing. You know, the hair limping, trembling through the frozen grass.
That's very descriptive. You can actually see things in your image, can't you?
Yeah, yeah. It's anyway. That's St Agnes Eve. And, that was one of the many poets who enjoyed only a short life upon this earth, but who does seem to have been aware on so many different levels of the different kinds of being alive and being aware. It gives me a lot of confidence in other worlds to come, I must say.
I studied John Clare for O-level, and I just love his stuff. And then a third cousin of mine called Hugh Lupton, he's a storyteller, and he's written a book about John Clare's history and included lots of poetry, and I just couldn't put it down. It was so lovely about his life and the difficulties he had and how people found him so difficult and in and out of asylums and things like that. But such beautiful poetry. I love that. I love that. I'd forgotten how beautiful I found it. Much better than we had to study Lowell as well. What's his first name?
Is it Roger? No, not Roger.
Harold Lowell? No.
Yeah,
Howard.
Robert, I think.
Pardon?
Robert
Lowell.
Robert,
yeah.
Robert.
Yeah. I mean, I have an image of he called in one of his poems, he used an image of candles on a tree when he was talking about the magnolia down the road. And I won't forget that. It's such a perfect image.
I think I should remember that. Yeah.
We had a disembodied voice just then. Christopher, do you have a poem you want to share with us?
Right, you can see my face then.
That would be helpful for me, lip reading. Lovely.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is by Andrew Neil Blewett, who I'm rather fond of. This one's called God Gets It Off His Chest. I'm God, and I'm He, with a capital G. All the lowercase chaps have disbanded, and if nobody knows how at first I arose, well, neither do I, to be candid. But it seems though it's queer that I've always been here, and for kinfolk I fear I have none. No father or mother, no sister or brother, just me and a ghost and his son. And I didn't apply for this job in the sky of producing the earth from the void, but the place was so bleak and I had a free week. I was at the time unemployed. I thought it divine, that concoction of mine, as I spun it around to inspect it. But the workings of fate I discovered too late. There was no one but me to direct it. But the greatest mistake I could possibly make was to put man and wife on the planet. It was soon overflowing from what they call knowing. Then I rued that I ever began it. Oh, the millions down there with their praises and prayer, who implore me to bow down an ear and attend to their craving, confession and raving. It's hell, I can tell you up here. The endless confessions of trivial transgressions, I've heard them so often before. To be fair, the Cistercians have novel diversions, but the rest are a terrible bore. Petitions are worse, in fact, they're a curse, as they tend to conflict and confuse me. So sometimes I say to the devil and pray, I shouldn't, of course, but do excuse me. To come back to the praises, I hate all those phrases like Father Divine and Almighty, and my critical taste hasn't ever embraced the Te Deum, still less the Venite. As a duty, it's clear, it's drear, so I turn a deaf ear to confessions, petitions, and praise. But then nobody knows, as they say is it, all they say is it shows that I move in mysterious ways. I'd relinquish my post and retire with the ghost if his son would accept it instead, but he's long had his eye on returning to Zion and judging the quick and the dead. So it's all in the air till he's finished down there, and I'll say when I'm low now, and I say when I'm low now and then, I'll be here with the ghost and the heavenly host forever and ever. Amen.
Amen.
Oh, splendid.
I love that.
That's that. I haven't come across that poet, Christopher. You know, maybe I should.
Yes. His wife published his his rhymes after his death. One's called A Millipede with Gout, and the other one's called Dragonflies Have a Problem.
Millipede with gout.
Yeah, I'll try and find that one. Is there an index? Actually, one of my favorite ones is towards the front.
I think I sure remember just the title of the Millipede with Gout. Whenever I'm complaining about my arthritis, I should think, well, I could be a millipede with gout.
Come on, Christopher. It's funny, isn't it? How well I've got a book, and I'm in the trouble that Patsy had with finding the one I actually want. Oh, this one's called Count Me Out. Last night I thought I heard a sheep say, "Thank the Lord he's gone to sleep." Then others made it very plain they wouldn't jump the gate again.
Gab.
Yeah.
The gate again.
Gate again, yes. Sorry, what did I say?
No,
Jab.
I think.
Anyway, does somebody else like to read something?
David, you said you had something else.
Well, unfortunately, I've got a few.
Nothing unfortunate about that. Carry on, my friend.
This is so. I looked up some poems on peace. You know, it's I go to a daily Quaker meeting about peace in Ukraine. And there's two short ones here. This is Emily Dickinson. I many times thought peace had come. I many times thought peace had come when peace was far away. As wrecked men deem they sight the land at centre of the sea, and struggle slacker but to prove as hopelessly as I how many the fictitious shores before the harbour be. And here's one from W.B. Yeats. And it's just called Peace. Ah, that time could touch a form that could show what Homer's age, bred to be a hero's wage, were not all her life but storm. Would not painters paint a form of such noble lines, I said, such a delicate high head, all that sternness amid charm, all that sweetness amid strength? Ah, but peace that comes at length came when time had touched her form. So I I'd also looked up, I was feeling quite whimsical. I was looking up James Morrison, and bits of Pooh Bear.
Go down to the end of the town. Go on. Have you got it? Have you got it there for us?
Oh, am I allowed to? It seems.
But of course.
Okay, right. Okay.
Not so intellectually challenging, I hope.
Definitely not. Okay, well, this is like the moment at a Flanders and Swan concert where they say, "Now's your chance," and you all start singing "Mud." This is disobedience. James Morrison, Weatherby George Dupree, took great care of his mother, though he was only 3. James said to his mother, "Mother," he said he, "you must never go down to the end of the town if you don't go down with me." James Morrison's mother put on a golden gown. James Morrison's mother drove to the end of the town. James Morrison's mother said to herself, said she, "I can get right down to the end of town and be back in time for tea." King John put up a notice, "Lost or stolen or strayed." James Morrison's mother seems to have been mislaid. Last seen wandering vaguely, quite of her own accord. She tried to get down to the end of the town. 40 shillings reward. James Morrison, commonly known as Jim, told his other relations not to go blaming him. James said to his mother, he said he, "You must never go down to the end of the town without consulting me." James Morrison's mother hasn't been heard of since. King John said he was sorry. So did the Queen and Prince. King John, somebody told me, said to a man he knew, "If people go down to the end of the town, well, what can anyone do?" Now then, very softly, J M W.G. Dupree took great C.O. his M, though he was only 3. J said to his M, he said he, "You must never go down to the end of the town if you don't go down with me." There's something lovely about that because it
That's a lovely doggerel.
resonates from all our childhood.
Yeah.
That's I like stuff like that because it's jolly. Like a bit of jolly.
I like the image of her in her golden gown. Beautiful.
I was waiting to see what she'd gone for.
We have to guess, but doesn't it remind you of how it's possible for a child to see its mother as a very glamorous figure with all sorts of possibilities? It's possible, anyway.
Yeah. And that lovely idea of the child taking care of the mother,
Yes.
there's inversion that seems perfectly natural to the child.
Right. Well, I found the one I was looking for, and I also would like to read you one of my favorites, which is quite short. This one's called Fellow Feeling. An elephant with earache feels sympathy, no doubt, for a kestrel with vertigo or a millipede with gout. And this is one of my favorites.
Oh, that's the end of it. Can you read it again?
Yeah, if I can find it again, yeah. Fellow Feeling. An elephant with earache feels sympathy, no doubt, for a kestrel with vertigo or a millipede with gout.
Fellow feeling.
Yeah. And this one, the title's nearly longer than the poem itself. And it's entitled, I think I missed the turning for the opticians. I'm sure we must have left the town. I'm knocking fewer people down.
Help!
Yeah. Is
Yes, it's nearly as
yes.
bad.
I mean, you know, well, you can see from all the markers in there, and those are the only, you know. And in lockdown, I actually paid more than I wanted to for his second book, but I was very glad I did.
Hmm. Yes, I shall have to keep an eye open for him.
Yes. Well,
Right. That's there are holes in the sky where the
Where
rain
the rain
comes
gets in.
Mm.
The rain is very small because the holes are thin. Any guesses who wrote that?
Spike Milligan.
Give that lady a cigar.
I have been waiting ever since I realized this was coming up. Like last week, we were talking about poetry, and I have been trying to find his name in my brain, and I just got it. Thank you very much. I love it.
I think someone else wrote about trying to lift their sister, and tried to lift my sister. I tried with all my might, you know, and so I can't lift her. She must have something heavy inside, you know. And so that type of weird type of humor, which I remember reading, you know. Anyway, I will. So I did what I said I'm not going to do by carrying on. But there you go. And any other poems, my friends?
Well, can you bear another one by Spike?
Yes, do.
Yeah.
The spring is sprung, the grass is riz. I wonder where them birdies is. The little birds are on the wing, but that's upside. The wing is on the boyd.
Well, just from the mention of Spike Milligan, I did a quick search and found a whole bunch of them. Just do one very short one. Said Hamlet to Ophelia, I'll draw a sketch of thee. What kind of pencil shall I use? To be or not to be?
Oh.
Yeah.
Can I read you one of my brothers? It's called Joy, which would match with what we're talking about here. Joy. I went shopping today, bought a tin of joy. It wasn't difficult, small or economy size. Paid at the checkout. Smiled on the way home. People smiled back. Softer shoulders, lighter step. Sun came out. Changed my plans. Freed up the day. A few calls and texts. Sorry, unexpected. Long lunch, nap, walk. Lost track of thought. Settled into the magic of the moment. Throughout this afternoon, my tin sat on the shelf, unopened. Joy is uncontainable.
Yes. Well done, Hattie's brother.
Well, thank you for being there, honestly, because I was so tangled up with dreadful stuff just before coming in and joining you. Thank you.
It's our pleasure. We are glad you joined us.
Yes.
And unless anybody has got something else that they wish to share, we come to the end. We'll see you in September. And Patsy tells me she has got a few people lined up for September already.
Yes, I got
any
Yep.
you can tell us about, Patsy?
Oh, well, I didn't, I did not come prepared, alas. I'm very sorry. If you give me a second. Can
I'm
you give me a
prepared,
second?
not. I'm giving one of them about Japan. So,
oh, thank you. Okay.
Right.
Yeah, I haven't put them together in one folder, you see. I've got 5 folders because there's 5 in. Maggie Mason is going to give us the first talk on no new fossil fuel extraction, a Quakerly perspective on the regulation of additional mines and wells. So that's a serious one to get our teeth into to start off. September the 8th. Oh, this is. Oh, which one are you, Hattie?
September.
I know into
September
September.
something.
Wait a minute. Sorry about this. I didn't get it ready, you see, but I have actually got a separate document for each week. Now, this is someone called Lee Taylor, who is going to be talking to us. He works for the Quaker Africa Interest Group, and he's going to be talking to us on September the 8th, September 15th. We've got the balloonist, Don Cameron. He's going to be talking about humanism. It's quite varied, isn't it? I don't plan these things, as you can see. Hattie's talking to us about Japan on the 22nd of February, September. Come back to ground, Patsy. September 29th. Oh, David, you can. What is it you're talking about on the 29th?
It's the provisional and likely title is My Favorite Conspiracy Theories.
Oh, a lovely one.
So I got September ready, but I haven't even begun on October. But that's coming next.
Well, thank you, Patsy. I think then I'm sorry I leapt upon you in that respect, but
that's fine.
But yes, an interesting time. So come back to us in September for some very interesting chats. You never know what you're going to miss if you don't.
That's right.
And speak to your meetings, speak to your friends, tell everybody to come and listen, because they are assured of an interesting hour. So after that lot, friends, thank you, and go and have lunch.
Thank you. Thank you all very much. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.